Welcome to the Mind Myself interview with Eva Reid. Eva, welcome to this space today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's just start off by telling people a bit about your credentials and your journey of how you chose your career path and why you're passionate about it.
Sure, I'd love to. So I am a holistic nutritionist, which means I work primarily with food as well as occasionally supplementation and lifestyle changes to help people find positive shifts in their health and their life. In terms of how my credentials, so I finished my training in 2017 when I earned my registered holistic nutritionist designation from the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition in BC. They have an excellent natural nutrition program. It's actually one of the oldest in Canada. So in addition to getting my RHN at that time, I also received a holistic culinary certificate from them as well. In terms of why I chose that particular career path, it's a little cliche because you hear this a lot with people in holistic health in terms of other practitioners, but it was the result of my own health journey. So in a previous career, I worked in marketing and fundraising in the nonprofit sector, and I had a very demanding position on top of which I was trying to juggle other things. I was starting a side business, I was volunteering, I was helping renovate my parents' home, and it was just extremely burnt out. My hormone health, it was just too much. My hormone health was all over the place. My thyroid suffered, actually was diagnosed with a thyroid issue, which cascaded other things. So my mental health suffered, all kinds of other things were happening. So in my journey, which included all kinds of practitioners, doctor's visits, therapies, there was a friend who was also a nutritionist who took an interest and actually helped me with a particular protocol. And it's after that I really started to see some positive change happening. And so really, I just got interested in what this field was. And long story short, it ended up leading not just to better health, but also a career change. As far as why I'm passionate about it, I think, it's because of that. I know firsthand the power that the right diet and lifestyle can make. And what I also like about working with food is that it's so gentle, unlike medication, which is very important for a lot of things. And I never will tell anybody, don't take your meds, but unlike medication, which comes often with side effects, food doesn't. You'd have to really screw things up to hurt yourself with food if you're on the right nutrition protocol. So, so I would like to create that same positive change for other people using something as beautiful and gentle as food.
What a lovely description. And how would you describe your ideal clients or patients that you love to work with?
So most of my clients, because of the niche I'm in, most of my clients are women who are either trying to conceive or already pregnant and are looking for nutritional support in that area. But I would say my ideal client, regardless of what I'm helping them with, is someone who is serious about their health and seeing change in their health. Someone who's open-minded and understands that there is mind-body connection to things, and someone who's willing to put in the work, because you can only lead a horse to water, right? But someone who's willing to take action, follow through on the strategies and protocols we create for them. By no means do I expect perfection from my clients, but I do expect them to trust in themselves and trust in the process.
Well, that sounds like a good foundation. And what are your particular focuses? You mentioned food, nutrition, fertility. Can you expand a little bit about that in your practice?
Sure. So my focus is female fertility, specifically, so female fertility and reproductive health. I work with women who are trying to conceive and help them maximize their chances of becoming pregnant through either natural methods or sometimes through assisted reproductive technologies like IUI or IVF. And I do this with very specific protocols for diet, for lifestyle, for mindset. I use food, obviously, supplementation, sometimes supportive herbs, and lifestyle changes. I usually work with individual women, but sometimes I will work with couples as well, since it takes two to conceive. So working with a partner will be beneficial for the entire process. And I should mention, I have fertility clients who are just starting their journey, but more often than not, I have, they've been trying to conceive for a while. So they may have been diagnosed somewhere along the way with infertility, subfertility, unexplained fertility, or a condition that affects fertility, like PCOS or endometriosis. So that's why my nutrition practice also focuses on those things. That's all fertility. In addition to fertility, I also work with pregnant women. So I have clients that come to me who are either already pregnant or usually in their first trimester, or clients that have worked with me throughout their fertility journey who are now looking for help now that they're pregnant. And then lastly, I work with women who are postpartum. So I don't know if you have any children yourself.
No, I don't.
Okay, but we always, like, when we're thinking about pregnancy, we worry about the actual pregnancy and delivery, but oh my gosh, those first few weeks after are an absolute roller coaster, physically, emotionally. So I do work with women in that period as well, because luckily there are a lot of things that we can do through diet that can help with healing, with rebuilding nutrition stores, supporting lactation and breastfeeding, and just mental health as well. So there's lots that you can do. But those are my primary focus areas of focus: of fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum.
Fantastic. And I love that you included the women's partners too, because sometimes men have a very difficult time and they have a hard time finding people who can help them. It's all focused on the, so primary focus on the women, but some on the partners too. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that normally it is a couple with a male and a female, but sometimes it's actually could be a same-sex couple that needs help with figuring out how to do this fertility thing when there's two people of the same sex. So that includes those couples as well.
Fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you. And now let's delve into the personal a little bit. How do your closest friends and colleagues describe you?
I've been told that I'm a pretty good listener. It's strange talking about yourself in this way, but yeah, so I've been told I'm a pretty good listener. I've had actually some friends comment that I was probably a psychologist in a past life, or a social worker or something along that line, which is important in what I do because there is a lot of listening involved. I've also been described as open-minded, sort of dedicated to what I do, and at times maybe a little bit over enthusiastic with things, but yeah, I would say those are the primary things.
Well, those are excellent qualities to have in a practitioner. So, and a listener, which is amazing. You can't be in a healing journey if you're not a good listener. That's my personal opinion. So thanks for saying.
Very true.
And what does an initial session with you look and feel like?
So in the first session, regardless of what we're dealing with, is usually going to look the same. So I would describe that initial session as a journey of exploration. So we're exploring who you are, like who the client is as a whole person. We're exploring how they got here. So if there are any factors that may have contributed to their specific health issue, or just where they are on their journey, and where they're going. So what, for specific fertility or wellness or other goals do they have? So we're going to talk about all those things. So clients can expect an initial session to be a lot of questions, mostly from me, so me asking the questions, but it's also a chance for them to ask, because this has to be a working relationship with where that makes sense. We have to fit, so it's a chance for them to get to know me, my process, and ways that I can support them. And in terms of the questions that I ask, it's usually includes some information about their medical history, lifestyle assessment, symptomatology, diet, obviously, so dietary assessment, and a general overview of what their wants, needs, and goals are. And while much of the first session is dedicated to this kind of question discovery process, I also do want to make sure that they're walking away with something tangible. So making sure that they have some change that they can implement right away in terms of diet and lifestyle. And then after that, so usually between the first and second session is when I sort of do some work behind the scenes to take the information we've gathered and create their wellness protocol. And then most of the magic happens after that. So sessions 2 and beyond is when we actually get to implement all of these recommendations and changes and break them up into bite-sized goals and milestones.
Wonderful. And how many sessions do you typically work with a client on average?
It really, really depends, because it just on a number of factors, right? How it depends on what are the goals that we're working on. It depends on what kind of client it is. So for example, if I'm working with a pregnancy client, I usually recommend that we see each other at least once in each trimester, but ideally once a month. So, a package of sessions for them would be 9 months. But it'll depend. It'll depend on the person, their financial situation. They'll depend on their goals and how many issues or how many things we are working on. So most of the time, I work with clients anywhere between 5 and 10 sessions.
Well, that's good to know. And do you work virtually as well as in person?
So at the moment, I do everything virtually. This is the big change of 2020 for me. So post-COVID, before I was doing both. So I was doing virtual sessions and in clinic because I have a private practice, but I'm also a practitioner at a wellness clinic in BC called Boda Health. So I would take clients both in clinic and online, but ever since 2020 happened, we moved everything online. So I'm still a practitioner at the clinic, but I take clients virtually. And then in my own private practice, I take clients virtually. And the beauty of what I do, because I work with recommendations, I don't have to touch anybody. There's no physical exam. I don't need to be physically face-to-face with someone. So that's nice. So there is always the option to do remote sessions.
Well, that's good to know. And so you're located in Ontario, correct?
Correct. So my physical space is in Ontario. And like I said, I work with clients all over Canada. My virtual office in Boda Health is in Vancouver, but I myself am in Ontario, yes.
Great. And you've mentioned that you work with individuals and couples, but I think that you also offer some group work. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have some group programs that run throughout the year. I actually, in different capacities. So I have an ongoing collaboration with other practitioners. So I work with a personal trainer and a psychotherapist. Actually, she's a psychotherapist and registered social worker. And we some time ago kind of merged forces to really create this holistic approach to health, because we do believe that, change and health transformation happens at the intersection of diet, fitness, and mindset. So we want to really offer something that uses all our 3 lenses. So we run a program 3 times a year. So it's usually 8 to 12 weeks long and focuses on general health transformation, where I'll focus on the diet. And then there's also live fitness classes and coaching calls, all kinds of stuff. So in addition to that, I will also be running my first fertility group program. So at the beginning of next year in February is the launch date, called Fertility Foundations. And that will be for small groups, large groups, it doesn't matter. We're going to basically create something accessible for those who need support in their fertility journey, but maybe not necessarily, either can't, maybe finances are an obstacle to do something one-on-one in terms of one-on-one coaching, or even just someone who thrives in a group dynamic. Like a big advantage of group programs in general is that you have others who share a similar human experience to you,
Yes.
and provide that community of support. So a lot of time people will join group programs just because of that, meeting other women, hearing their fertility stories, and just sort of creating your little tribe. So that will be starting in February, and I can always share more details as it comes.
That's February of 2023, in case you're watching this after today's date. Excellent. Those are fabulous services. It's great that you offer those. And back to a little bit on a personal note, what do you do in your life to stay healthy?
Right. Well, I mean, as a nutritionist, the obvious answer would have to be food, to eat healthy, which of course I full-heartedly believe is important. But if I'm being honest, I think the number one most important factor in staying healthy for anyone, no matter what your issues are, even more important than food, is stress management. Stress and the inflammation it can cause and the cascade of issues it can cause has been found through multiple research sources to be the cause of most diseases and imbalances, and yet it's so often an afterthought for people when they're thinking about their self-care protocols, because there always seem to be more pressing to-dos. So yeah, so to answer sort of on a personal note, in my personal life, I always try to, like, no matter what, schedule in that me time, and make sure I have a way to manage the stress. And to be clear, stress will always happen. It's really learning how we deal with it. So for me, that includes meditation, exercise, like gentle exercise. I love jogging. I used to be running, but now I'm sort of transitioning more to jogging, yoga, biking, hiking, like pretty much anything that gets me outside. Surrounding myself with the right people, positive energy, and then I have, like I said, things will always happen that will be stressful. So I have a mantra that kind of helps me deal with that when it comes, which is, I don't yet know how this serves me, but I choose for it to serve me. So it's just trying to reframe the situation and letting the stress sort of wash over you.
Oh, that's amazing. Great things. Great things. And we could learn from that for sure. What's something that you're most grateful for in your life?
Definitely, I mean, there's lots I'm grateful for, but number one is absolutely my son. So my son Nathaniel, he's already my favorite human, and he's not even old enough to talk yet. So
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's quite funny because I personally was never someone who had a really strong maternal instinct. Like, that pull to have children just wasn't a thing for me. And I met other people, other mothers who were like, oh, I always knew I really wanted to have kids. It just wasn't me. So I was pretty much on the fence about having kids for a long time and kept weighing pros and cons. So even after, like, my husband and I got married, we still waited, and we didn't really start even trying to have kids until I was already in my late 30s, which is, I mean, a little late, but it depends on how you look at it. But it's later than a doctor, for example, would advise for you. But I didn't have any issues, and once my son was born, like, my life completely changed. I mean, the love that you feel for a child can't be described in any other way. And I'm sure, had I chosen the path of not having kids, I would have also been perfectly happy. But now that I have, and I have that experience, I'm so grateful. And it's greatly contributed to my niche, like why I focus so much on this, because I keep putting myself in the position of a mother couple who aren't that like on the fence person, but who really want to have that child, who are like longing desperately to have that child. And for, you know, life to deprive them of that experience, I think is sad. So I want to create that joy that only having a child can bring, in my opinion, for those people. So, and just being able to do that, that's something I'm also very grateful for.
Excellent. I'm sure that your own journey has so informed your work. So as you've indicated. Well, as we're wrapping this up today, Eva, what's something that you'd like to leave your listener with today?
I would say, it's celebrating the small victories and trusting in the process. So there's a quote, I don't know who said it, but it's called "Hold the vision, trust the process." So really have that strong vision in your mind of what it is that you want, but then create a plan of action to get it, and then trust that plan of action, trust that process. But I also say, and celebrate the victories, because we can get so caught up in like this duality of I'm either successful or I'm not successful. I'm either healthy or I'm not healthy, like very black and white. And life is not that. And when we get caught up in that duality and we fall on the wrong side of that, where, oh, I'm not following my diet perfectly, therefore I'm unhealthy, it leads to a lot of negative talk. And it's important to just respect where you are, and every day just make it a goal to go that much further forward. So those baby steps, and when you hit that minor goal, that is obviously part of a bigger goal, actually celebrating that win, which can act like there are studies about this that show that can program our brain to expect more wins, and therefore we just keep winning. So yeah, I would say hold the vision, trust the process, and celebrate the victories.
A great way to end this interview, Eva. Thank you. And for those of you watching, check out the rest of her profile and feel free to reach out to Eva if you have an issue that she could help you with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.